all about Bales on Ultrazeme Stronghold. He had a decisive advantage. Let's go ahead and hop into game number 3. He had a decisive advantage on Ultrazeme Stronghold, but unfortunately wasn't able to close it out, made a wrong choice at the end of the game. Huck brings it back, ties up the series at 1 each. Now we find ourselves on Frost, looking on at the red Protoss player who spawned in the top right-hand corner of the screen. He is E.G. Huck. Notice how Huck does not have a spinning psychedelic Hercules.
I can imagine EG doing like a monster logo or something like that.
That would be very cool.
That's very EG.
Not gonna lie. Down in the bottom left-hand corner, the blue Protoss player. He is Deimos Bales, and we have word from Deimos Esports that this is in fact their team logo. They sent us a tweet and they said, we tried this as an experiment to see what the team logo would look like in game. Now they can't change it back. It says the change it back feature is unavailable, so it's stuck. So,
I think they're rocking it.
That's about as awesome. I can't think of a more hilarious way to start off the Challenger League.
One of the coolest things, Ben, I think that is different this season from WCS than the last season is that we are having best of 5s this early on in the season. I love testing best of 5s. I think it creates much more of a storyline. It is much less random, I think, as well. And above all, you're going to see some serious momentum shifts. Now, in a best of 3, there's not really too much momentum going on unless you win like an epic close game 1 where you were far behind and somehow won. Like that often carries over some momentum. Right now, I would definitely say the momentum is in the corner of Huck. He won that game despite not getting very lucky early on with the build order that he chose. Yes, he had a quicker expand, but he dropped the robo, then he cancelled it, then he was forced to play very blind and passive for a long time, and Bales was just overall in control of that map. And if you're looking at an 0-2 deficit in a best of 5, well, then you're definitely starting to shake, because this is a super important series for a player like Huck. If Huck doesn't make it into Premier League, then you could say it's going to be a little silent around Huck for the upcoming 2-3 months, and that's of course not what a pro player like Huck wants. Either way, winning that game on Ultrazeme should really give him a lot of courage and, you know, just good feelings about going into this map on Frost, which is also a large map but plays out a little different. However, coming back from that game must feel good.
Yeah, Huck's got to be feeling a little bit more confident, knowing that he was in a difficult situation but still managing to pull it out in the end. These players have spawned cross-spawn this time.
Now, I also think that the last game was a clear sign of perhaps the lack of experience for Bales. I don't think you ever see Huck make a mistake like that because of all the experience that he has playing on the high pressure in big scenarios, big tournaments all around the world. I guess you could say that that was a rookie mistake, that Bales only will make once because he's an excellent Protoss player. Getting yourself there in that phase in the game, playing that well against Huck, that's an achievement on its own, but closing it out is just a little different.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there, Kev. I don't know if we can call it nerves or inexperience or just mistakes that happen, but Bales did have a couple of slip-ups. We saw him getting a little bit sloppy with his warp prisms.
Even that first attack, his macro slipped a little bit as well.
Yep, and we saw the large mistake of committing to that base. Ultimately, that led to him sacrificing his entire army and losing the game. But the other thing that Bales has shown us is that he's able to compete with Huck. He can play the game as well as Huck, at least up to that 30-minute mark, and then you know that should tell him, hey, be confident. You have the tools that you need to win this thing. Sit back, play smart, take your time. I'm sure Huck is probably telling himself the same thing. Hey, you got this kid's number. Play your game. Don't get crazy.
Both players opening up with a double gateway here and show signs of at least wanting to be aggressive, as Huck has this. Actually, they're playing an exact mirror ban. Look at these, the positioning of these pylons. Every single HP on these stalkers is going to be very important. Huck runs up that ramp a little bit and he sees a mothership core and already the stalker, so he can kind of predict from this point on it's indeed a double gateway. But what's behind that? It could be 3 gateways, could just be an expand, could be a robo, could be Twilight, or it could be a Stargate once more. Now this is the 3rd game in a row that Bales is opening up Stargate. I love Stargate play, I think it's strong, don't get me wrong, but you can't do it every single game in a PvP series.
Bales does have an aggressive pylon out on the map, and Huck has left his entire army out on the map, his entire army of 2 stalkers, I should say. There was a single sentry left back at home, but did Bales see the Nexus? He did see the Nexus. So he knows exactly what his opponent is up to. Bales is also dropping his own expansion just a little bit later.
Yeah, cool build over here by Huck. 2-gate expand just a little more safe than 1, and also does not force him to, you know, pump out Immortals immediately because he gives up all map pressure.
Man, Bales unfortunately leaves his base with...
This could actually be not unfortunate. Well, there are 4 stalkers right now for Huck, but still, Bills has 3 stalkers. He could get another warp in. Above all, he has a time warp over here. Bills is going to have to be careful how he wants to go at this.
Yeah, he realizes what's going on. Good movement here from Bales, understanding that he can't risk
First
walking
he can,
3
and then he
stalkers
can't.
into 4.
very, very well done there by both players. Huck also like not just sacrificing those 2 stalkers, having some real firepower with those 4 stalkers, and then also realizing, okay, the longer this takes, the more likely that my opponent has something that's able to kill this soon. I should back off again. Great play from both sides so far, despite anything, despite nothing really happening in this game. Some excellent high-level decisions and movement.
Oh yeah, I would have walked those stalkers to their death.
Oh, so am I every single game. I would have walked them up the ramp and run into a Morphle. That's what I did.
Huck putting all the pieces down for a long game. He's got the Robo. He's getting the Forge.
Great, great
he
scouting
knows that
over
the
here.
Oracle is coming, and he sees it just in time. And this is going to allow him to respond to it. Warping in stalkers at home. Does not drop Photon Overcharge. Is instead going to rely on stalkers and sentries to chase the Oracle away. Got 2 kills, and will come back again later.
He's even making his 2nd Oracle. I kind of wonder if that's worth it. I guess eventually you can always say that one moment there will be a phase in the game where oracles are worth it, because the only thing they need is an exposed mineral line for 5 seconds, and then they are completely worth their investment. But I think Huck is going to play this very safe. He realized that his expand was a little quicker than the one of his opponent, and he played against an opening that's meant to deal economic damage and didn't really do it yet. The only thing he doesn't know yet, Ben, is that there is a 2nd Oracle idling on the south side of his natural. He does have 2 Stalkers. They're a little bit out of position. I'm pretty sure that Bills is going to try to send both Oracles at the same time and try to find an opening. But if Huck doesn't take damage of that 2nd Oracle either, he's putting himself in an absolutely phenomenal position. 2nd
Oracle is going to go ahead and reveal itself. Into the natural it goes, and how many probe kills will it get? 3, 4, 5? He's going to just stick around for the duration. Finally, Photon Overcharge is going to be casted, and the Oracle gets shot down, but not before it picks off 8 probes.
No, that one was worth it. Who am I, Ben? I vent about Oracles every single day on my stream, and now I question 2 Oracle investments. I never learn, do I?
Well, you know. You do have a little bit of a reputation as being a stubborn RTS player, Kev.
Just a little bit.
First Oracle is still alive and is even going to fly forward into the main base, where it's going to scout what's going on, drops a Revelation on top of some of Huck's units, and will float away. So Bales is going to move on right on into the mid-game with a small worker lead and with excellent tech. Kev is dropping his Templar archives already. He's getting his Immortals out. So once more, Bales is saying, hey, I just want to play it this way every time. Stargate opening into Robo, into High Templar, and ultimately play late game with Archons and Immortals.
Quick Dark Shrine this time, though. Man, Bills is just this type of Protoss player that, you know, it's fun to watch, but you would hate to play against. He definitely switched up his style a little bit, because this is not how I really remember. Like in the old days when I played quite a few times against Bills, he always came to me as a very solid, straight-up Protoss. He's definitely still solid, but not that much relying on dealing economic damage, more just kind of like getting his own pieces in the right place, and not even that timing-oriented, just, you know, macro Protoss, just trying to get interface in the game with a strong army where he tries to out-macro you or have slightly better upgrades. But right now it seems like his style is all about dealing economic damage, and from that point on, creating an awesome lead. Look at this one High Templar, by the way, that's moving to the north side of this map. As Huck has an Observer over here, and this High Templar is going to feed back that Oracle into a blitz. Oh! I thought it would die. Didn't check the energy.
Happy little Oracle lives with 19 hit points, and is just going to stay there like, what's up, High Templar?
Ugh.
Oh, no, no. Oh.
Oh man, he's going to have to move the Observer.
Wow.
Losing the Observer as well would be pretty big.
This is a little bit of sloppiness from Bales, being very careless. At the same time, we see that...
the Observer loss is something that I mind more than the Oracle. Even though the Oracle is great, you know, against the feedback, that can always happen. Even after that, he should have moved it though, but Observers are very important.
Speaking of the importance of Observers, Bales has got a little bit of Dark Templar shenanigans planned. He's going to be unloading into the natural expansion 3 DTs rather, and well, fortunate for Huck, he's nearby with his army and his Observer.
Dropping cannons as well, but still, I think Huck's going to lose once more. A lot of workers, man. He only has a single Observer, so he's only going to get a detection in one place.
Oh my god, he's following the Warp Prism, and he's not really contending with the Dark Templar, so this is excellent harass already from Bales. There's another DT up in the main base. This one's going to get shut down before it does too much damage. But that means a grand total of 19 workers have been killed. Bales returns once more with that ninja DT. But good job by Huck being very aware of the danger.
Oh, and he also wiped in 3 Dark Templars at the third baseman. These DTs have a lot of damage. He will most likely be able to force a cancel on this Nexus. Great harassment here by Bales.
Oh, and he picks him up, but the Warp Prism shot down. Good attempt there from Bales to keep it very smooth. But
so it wasn't free, but still worth it in my opinion. I don't think Huck is Huck is in a scenario or in a position where he can just march across the map and capitalize on the investment that he just killed. Because by the time that he makes his way across the map, you know, if he get time warped once, he could be in so much trouble or loses his observer. It's most likely just not worth it. So in the end of the day, Bales is once more riding on an economic advantage. Just great play by this Protoss player.
Yeah, finding openings with his harassment. I'm so blown away at how far StarCraft has come. These guys are playing incredibly good StarCraft at a very high level. And we see Huck is trying to answer. He's got a Warp Prism of his own out on the map, and he's going to be sending it around to...
You know, and you know, as successful as that harassment was, I felt it could have even been worse. Like the moment that you only have one observer, your cannons are not ready yet, and you have DTs in your natural and in your main, in a blink of an eye, you lose 20 workers or something like that. And now in the entire game, Huck has only lost 20 workers, but there's also like 10, 12 to the Oracle.
No, I'm so impressed with how cleanly he managed that situation. Yep. That's absolute panic mode.
Of course, Bales didn't know what we know, that there was only one observer, so Bales ran that DT out of the natural while the only observer was actually in the main. So in that moment he could have done a little more damage, but you know, that's very easy to say when you're sitting over here and you see every single observer.
Pretty comparable armies here. 5 Immortals to 5 Immortals, 5 Archons to 2 Archons.
And this is not something you see every single day either, Ben. An Archon drop.
Well,
could do some
damage quite a bit of splash damage on the probe line. We'll see if it's actually effective. Initially, they're going to target the cannons, and it looks like...
Oh, he's going to lose the Warp Prism.
Oh, no! And that means that these Archons aren't going to kill a whole lot.
Not as effective as we thought it could be. At the same time, though, Huck is going to try to strike at the third base. A couple of force fields go down, but Immortals squeeze through it.
Huck maybe revealing his brilliance. The Archon's still alive in the back of the natural and being...
Bales needs to kill the observer, that's what he does.
Very annoying, and he does take out that observer. There is a single DT, and more DTs are going to be warped in. Mothership Core is going to go down, but Bales is going to take some pretty heavy losses. Huck, if you don't get out of here, you're going to lose everything.
There is an observer incoming, though, for Huck, Ben. It's near that pylon right now, near the third. Huck has an overwhelming army lead, but he needs an observer. The observer was misread a little bit. It's coming. You can zoom out, and you can see that it's coming.
So slow, so incredibly slow. Meanwhile, Dark Templar continue to clean it up. Finally, the observer's going to get there, but not before a lot of damage having been dealt by these DTs. Both players taking some pretty substantial losses there, but Huck, I think, maybe comes out of it a little better.
Yeah, he still has that third base, and it's 31 against 12 army supplies, so despite tanking a ridiculous amount of damage, and that Warp Prism arrest that didn't look all that successful at first was totally worth it in the long run.
It's crazy how long those Archons stayed alive. Obviously, they have a ton of hit points, but it felt like Bales was on top of that harass and that he was going to shut it down very quickly. Instead, it stuck around for quite some time. Huck, with 3 healthy bases, is mining at all of them. Has not, well, now has a worker lead, 61 probes to 60. But frankly, the real advantage is the fact that he has that third Nexus.
Great play, absolutely great play by Huck. That was hard to make it work, because I thought, yes, Bales did invest quite a bit in all those DTs on the other side of the map, and losing those 3 DTs hurt a little bit, but I still didn't feel that Huck was in a position to capitalize on that. But somehow he made it work. Going for that Archon drop and warping in a bunch of units was a risky maneuver, but it completely paid out in the long run. He kind of caught Bales' main army off guard in that third base, and he was able to jump on it.
I don't know that it would have worked had he not had the Archon drop going at the same time. That's really what created the window.
I don't think it would have, because then Bales has a much easier time in defending and setting himself up a little bit. Like, he was just kind of caught off guard. His Immortals were very exposed. Huck even got a little unlucky with one Immortal just barely squeezing to the other side of a force field, but overall Huck had so much HP and damage there that Bales didn't have a real answer to it.
I feel like Bales is almost doomed when this next attack comes, Kev. Huck has got so much more effective of an army. 5 Immortals to 0. The Archon count is advantage Huck. Bales has gone Colossus this time, which is a little bit of a change, but I'm not really feeling that he's going to have the critical mass of units that he needs.
He needs up to like 5-6 Colossus before he can do some serious work on all those Immortals and Archons. Colossus of course have way more micro potential, but if everything else just melts immediately, on a certain point your Colossus are also forced to fight those Immortals and Archons, and you know, eventually you will be able to clean it up, but if you lose everything before that, then it's just not worth it.
And I'm loving what we're seeing out of Huck. Multi-pronged Warp Prism play is going to be 2 Immortals in this Warp Prism. They will easily be able to shut down this cannon, and the potential for Zealot Warp-in is there, but no, in fact, they're going to straight over into the main base. Bales sees it, is going to warp in some Stalkers, but at the same time, Huck's going to try to set up a Warp Prism in the natural, but unfortunate for Huck, fortunate for Bales, set it up in range of that cannon.
That actually went kind of bad for Huck.
Did that other Warp Prism die?
Yeah.
Oh, with both Immortals?
Yep, with both Immortals in it, so that didn't go all that well.
Well,
I really love what you said as well there, Ben, because not often you see double Warp Prism res at the same time, but this one really backfired, and in the natural he got nothing done. It's going to lose that Observer now as well to those 3 Stalkers, and Bills doesn't know what we know. For all he knows, he picked up an empty Warp Prism, but the opposite is true. Those that Warp Prism was carrying some precious cargo.
If anything, that puts Bales right back in it. He has an army supply lead now.
And he has Colossus against Immortal Archon, which I really like. He's still down 1 base. Huck is going to get that 4th base a little quicker. Huck is going to get double Colossus production on his own now as well.
DT runs into 12 Zealots and an Observer. 7 Zealots rather. But
the problem was me, I was invisible. Back in my days, I was able to kill those ET.
But things finally shaping up once more for Bales. 158 supply to 172 supply as we see Huck hitting his warp-in cycle.
Yeah.
Powers ahead just a little bit more.
And Huck is also on double robot right now. He's getting thermal lens. Taking a look at the upgrades though, because most of the time Bales has better upgrades. 3 once. Huck once more preferring shield before armor, which is interesting. I saw someone on Team Liquid posting as well, like, I wonder what's better. I really think it's like something that you just prefer as a player. How many Archons? Of course, you're not going to get shield before armor if you make no Archons. That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. If you have a bunch of Archons, you know, some players might say indeed that getting shield upgrades is better. It's kind of hard to say, because at the end of the day, the Archons is the only unit that truly benefit from it. There's a little bit of shield on the other units as well, but
Huck's getting a little bit aggressive with these Zealot hit squads. Bales has made a nice little city for himself, protecting 1 cannon up on the high ground, 2 more on the low ground, and with a couple of DT warp-ins, should be able to pretty easily deflect this attack.
I like how whenever Huck is harassing, he's always bringing an Observer with his harass hit squad as well, so it's not that easy for Bales to take care of it, because, you know, normally you can just warp in a single Dark Templar and yep, you're good to go. But Huck always has an Observer there that makes it a little more tricky and forces Bales to seriously pay attention to that type of harassment as well. Huck is almost looking like he wants to engage his army. It's 6 Colossus against 6 Colossus. Huck does have more Archons, so maybe that's why, Ben, he likes to get that shield upgrade, because it's, you know, he has 8 Archons against 6. He doesn't have a single Immortal anymore though.
Huck has 3.
Huck is 3, sorry, not a single Immortal.
Bales is the one that lacks the
so Bales is very, very Zealot heavy on this moment in the phase of the game.
The harassment down at the 3rd expansion has been very successful for Huck. He's taken out all of the cannons. A lot of pylons actually supply blocking Bales, and even killing more than a handful of probes. I think it was 11 probes killed. So good work there by Huck. Not only did he pull Bales' army out of position, allowing him to take the center of the map, but doing some economic damage as well, and continuing the onslaught with more Zealots. Finally, Bales cleans up the last of it.
Above all, Huck has so much map control, which just makes you feel so comfortable. He's also getting double Stargate and now a Fleet Beacon, so Huck is not afraid to get thrown in a bunch of Tempests when he feels like it is the right time to do so. It is currently 8 Colossus for Huck as well. 8 Colossus, 8 Archons, 3 Immortals against just 6 Colossus, 7 Archons, and 23 Zealots. It's safe to say that Huck's army is a lot stronger than the army of Bales.
Man, constant Zealot attacks down into this expansion. Bales is really being forced to spend a lot of resources down here. Huck, I love the harass we're seeing out of Huck, and at the same time, he's looking for the opportunity to attack into that 4th expansion. I don't think Bales can actually defend this Zealot attack. With the Observer overhead, the DT warp-ins are not going to work out, and more Zealots continue to pile into this expansion. Huck is just leaning on his opponent, trying to slowly smother him on the weight of his superior multitasking. Bales still not choosing to bring his main army down. Actually, he's going to find where Huck's main army is, and this looks like an okay engagement for Bales. Huck immediately opts to disengage, drops the Time Warps, and here comes the big fight. All comes down to who's going to trade more effectively. There are far more Archons on the side of Bales, and I think this fight is going to go the way of Huck as Huck hammers Bales back. Good game. Huck once again on the back of some superior late game play takes the game and finds himself up 2-1 in this best-of-5 series.
Yeah, Huck played that out great. In the last 10 minutes of that game, Huck played nearly perfect. Losing that prison with the Immortals was perhaps a little sloppy, but other than that, that non-stop harassment, the map control that he took for himself, while still expanding behind that, having a perfect army composition, freeing up more and more supply. Like, the only zealots that Huck had were actually the zealots that were harassing all the time, and in the